Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I've got 500 tulip bulbs to plant, which is actually only half of my tulip bulbs. I have two spaces that I've dug out, one right here and one across my driveway over there. I'm going to show both of those to you. I dug them out last week, and then it actually rained for 2 solid days. This is the second wettest year ever measured near in my area. The last time was 1996. Mostly hurricane activity we've had this fall and tropical storms and that kind of thing. Won't stop raining. This spot right here, and I'll show you in just a second, just drained the entire time. It never had standing water in it. Just a perfect place to put tulip bulbs, really. That spot on the other side of my driveway had a stump there, had a big tree there actually this time last year. It was cut down, ground the stump out, and some of that, the ground pieces of the stump, and just that is just a heavier clay on that side of my driveway over there. It's really wet, and so I'm going to do something different. I've dug down about half the distance I need to dig down, and I'm actually going to, I've got some soil over here where I've been digging some paths out, so I got some extra soil. I'm actually going to bring some of that soil back and mound that space up above my bulbs rather than sinking them deep into the ground. I've cold treated these tulip bulbs. I did a video several weeks back when I received them. They've been in my refrigerator, taking up half of my refrigerator space. So that'll be nice to get that back. I'm in zone 7B, almost 8. Tulips typically do well in zones 3 to 8, and in 3 through 7A, you usually you can leave them planted and fertilize them after they come up in the spring every year and get pretty consistent return on your tulips. And sometimes that's soil related too. As long as the soil drains well and you get good cold in the winter. Tulip bulbs need about 14 weeks where the soil temperature is below 55 degrees. My soil temperature's just reached down to 55 degrees. I've had these in the refrigerator maybe 8 weeks at this point. They need, like I say, need about a total of 14 weeks. That'll give them the other 6 weeks they need, the other half of December and all of January. In February, the soil temperature will come up quick and tulips come up very early for me in my area at that point. But for me, they're going to be annuals. They just always are. I'm not going to get enough cold on them that next winter, even if they're in a well-drained space and the bulbs survive just fine, they're not going to get enough cold treatment on them. My experience is a lot of them will come back up, but some of them will be short, some of them will be tall, some of them will have big flowers, some of them will have small flowers. It won't look anything like what this is going to look like next spring. And so that's what I do with tulips or annuals for me. I'll pull them up, I'll put them in the compost pile. I'll put some other annuals in this space in the spring, and then the following fall, I'll do this again because I love tulips, and these tulip spaces that I put in my yard literally stop traffic. I'm going to have 200 in this space and 300 on that side. So let me show you these 2 pits I dug and how I'm going to handle them differently. So this variety of tulips is called PLAIT. Normally on your however you bought your tulips, in small packs, big bags, however you bought them, you're going to have the planting depth and the how wide the spacing is on them. These are supposed to go 4 inches apart and 5 inches deep, which is pretty typical. I think that's going to be typical of most tulips. This group is like a pink, mauve, and purple and white combination. I've got 200 bulbs for this space. I'm going to put them a little closer than 4 inches apart because they're annuals for me. I'm not worried about them needing space to fill out in the future. And so I'm going to be putting them more like 2 to 3 inches apart. The pointy end of the bulb goes up. I say this in all the bulb videos, and I have lots of bulb videos if you want to search my channel for them. But one end is pointy, and the other end you can see where the roots come out on them. So like I say, it was the end of last week when I dug this pit is basically what it is. And like I said, they need to be 5 inches down. My trowel has a measurement on it here. It's about a 6-inch trowel, and if we even out the top edge right there, we're about 5 inches down, so that's perfect. So all I'm going to do is space them in here with the pointy end up, and I'm going to use my trowel initially just to bring some soil down onto the top of them to make sure that they don't end up rolling around when I backfill them with the shovel. So just slowly but surely I'll add a little bit of soil around them just to make sure they're sitting upright, and I'm going to fill this entire space out. One of the reasons this drains so well is this is an area I've had annuals in the past, and I have mixed in pine bark with it over time. and it just drains really well. But you can see here, I just have the pointy end of the bulbs up, and I'm putting a light amount of soil between them to make sure that they don't get kicked around, knocked around. Once I get this whole space filled in all the way across here with all 200, and I have them covered up lightly like this, I'll grab my shovel and fill it the rest of the way in, quick and easy. So I got the first 100 laid out on this side, and they're just lightly covered, and now I can get in here with my shovel, like I say, and just be a little bit more aggressive and go ahead and fill the hole back in pretty aggressively now. They all should be upright, again with the pointy end up. So once I get the whole trench filled in, I just, fill it up to the top, make sure I rake it out. Any roots or anything like that that came up when I initially dug the trench, I'll dispose of those. And, you can walk on it and that kind of thing once you have a few inches of soil on top of them. Like I say, I'll just clean out any organic debris, all these little roots and things like that. And that could potentially keep them staying too wet, putting all that organic material blended back in. But there you go, we'll just smooth it back out. I'm gonna plant some pansies right on top of this. So here's the spot on the other side of the driveway. I had some grasses in this area for the summer behind my summer annuals. There's pansies I planted in a video recently, which have just gotten hammered with snow, ice, rain, just pretty much nonstop. Every few days we just get, every rain we get is 2 inches. So they're holding up surprisingly well, considering I need to get some leaves out of them. The leaves have kind of collected in there. They need to come out. This is the space these 300 tulips are going in over here. This group is called Calm Cool Collective, and it is a kind of a maroon, purple, and white mix that's going to go in here. And I'm doing the exact same thing, but this is really a very wet space. But I've only dug down, maybe 2.5 inches or so. The soil that I dug out is over there. These are paths I've dug out over here. There's leaves have collected in them, but that's coming out. But this soil that came out of here is on the other side of my house. I'm gonna bring a couple wheelbarrows of that back over here and just mound this up. So I'm gonna put these tulips in exactly like I did on the other side, but they will not be deep enough on this side without adding some additional soil to it. But I'll space them out like that. I'll take some of this loose soil, exactly like I did over there, put it in here so that they don't move around when I start getting a little more physical with how I'm covering them up. But this is a big enough space here to put 300 of this variety in. So here they are in place. This little section right here I've covered lightly like I did on the other side. But again, they're super shallow. Right now I'm only gonna get about 2 inches of soil on top of them unless I mound up some. I'm gonna mix some bark into this as well, some pine bark soil conditioner, and get a couple wheelbarrows of soil and get these buried and end up raising the space a couple inches. I am worried, especially over here in this area, there's still part of that stump right here. I got one big piece I was able to cut out. This piece right here is just gigantic, and I'm not up for picking it out right now, but I am concerned that it's going to keep this area right in here a little too wet. We'll see when they come up. So I did dome up this mound quite a bit. There's pine bark in it, there's a little bit of compost in it, some native soil that I had dug out of these paths, but I don't know how much you'll be able to see here, but it's about a foot taller than the path, and when I started, the path was about 6 inches deep, so mounded up quite a bit up there, and there's 300 bulbs in there. They've been cold treated, and now it's just a matter of waiting. So I have 500 of my tulip bulbs in. I have 500 more to go, but you've seen me now put them in a space where I could just dig deep, and I'm comfortable that it'll drain well here. In fact, I had tulips here last year and they did great, so I'm very confident that putting them in the 5 inches deep is fine. Over there where I have a stump issue and a heavier clay issue, I dug down a little bit and then I mounded up above them. In a video upcoming, I'm actually going to plant some virtually right on top of the ground, and I'm going to mound up. It's an area where a retaining wall is going in the future. I got it mounded up anyway, and I know it doesn't drain over here where those are going. So if you're using them as perennials, if you're in zones like 3 through maybe 7A or 6B for sure, and you're using them for perennials, you fertilize them after they break dormancy in the late winter, or right when you start to see the foliage. You can wait till later if you want to, after they flowered. After they flowered, you can deadhead them and then wait for the foliage to die completely back before you clean them up. That bulb, the bulb's energy for next year is gained through that foliage. So it's, it's doing its thing. Tulips definitely need full sun, especially if you're in like zone 3 to 6 for sure, much sun as possible. If you're growing them in 7 and 8, a little bit of light shade will actually be beneficial, especially if you're in an area where the heat just jumps up real quick in the spring. And I'm in that kind of area where we can just go to 80s really quick in March. Not common, but it's very possible. And this space that I'm in has a little bit of light shade over the top of it. And it won't be in the full sun all day long in either one of these spots, and it won't be over there either in the other spaces that I'm using them. So that's beneficial if you're in like 7B or 8. Not shade, but part shade. Otherwise, if it jumps up to 80, 85 real quick, it can really shorten the season down for your tulips to bloom. If you're just planting a few tulips or any kind of bulbs, you can use one of these auger bits on your drill. I'll link one in the description below. I just find when I'm mass planting them, it's easier just to dig the whole thing out rather than use the drill one at a time like that. So thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for upcoming videos. I have I think 2 more bulb videos upcoming, and then I'll be done with bulbs for this fall, and then we'll do tour videos in the spring, and you'll get to see them all in bloom. Thanks for watching.